What if I told you there's an entire world of knitting full of elegance, whimsy, and cultural richness that most knitters have never discovered? Today we're exploring Korean knitting, a scene that blends delicate aesthetics with thoughtful creation, and it might just change the way you look at your next knitting project. Hello and welcome to another episode of Knitting Around the World. In this series we are exploring different knitting cultures, designers and patterns from all over the globe. And today we are heading to South Korea. I am going to introduce you to 6 talented knitwear designers and 10 of their amazing patterns. We're going to see some romantic sweaters, playful scarves and elegant cardigans. Let's get started. To really appreciate today's Korean designers, it helps to get a better understanding of the cultural history that they are working within. And just like in Finland or Latvia, for example, that we have talked about in previous episodes, Korea carries its own stories and traditions that are very worth mentioning. Korean textile art has always been deeply expressive. Long before modern knitting, Koreans practiced bojaji, patchwork wrapping cloths that are both practical and deeply symbolic. These cloths, often made from silk or rami, were traditionally used to wrap food, gifts or sacred items, and the piecing technique has inspired everything from quilting to modern knitwear design. This love for precision and composition is also something that I noticed when looking through all of the different knitting patterns from Korean designers. They are often beautifully balanced, aesthetically pleasing, and intentional. Like many cultures with a deep connection to craft, Korea also has a rich tradition when it comes to natural dyeing, often using plants like indigo, gardenia, and persimmon. Even today, some Korean dyers carry this tradition forward using local ingredients and historical methods. The focus on subtle, earthy colors is reflected in many Korean patterns. Soft neutrals, gentle pastels, and the occasional pop of a berry red or sky blue. Being a natural yarn dyer myself, of course, this is something that I find especially interesting, and I think there is so much we can learn from those traditional crafts that have been practiced for generations. Knitting wasn't historically a major part of Korean domestic crafts like embroidery or weaving, but it has made a major comeback in the recent years. Young Koreans, especially women, like to practice knitting as a calming hobby and also a form of self-expression. Korea now has a vibrant indie knitting scene with local yarn shops, handmade craft fairs, and entire cafes where you can sip a latte and knit for hours. In post-pandemic Korea, knitting and crochet have also become forms of emotional care. Many local makers talk about the therapeutic joy of making something by hand, especially in contrast to the fast pace of digital life in cities like Seoul. Some even teach knitting as part of mindfulness or art therapy programs. As the knitting community has grown, so has the demand for beautiful yarns. One of Korea's oldest and most beloved yarn companies is Nakyang Yarn. They have been founded in the 1960s and they offer a wide array of different yarn bases that knitters of all skill levels love and appreciate. Their commitment to quality and tradition really resonates with Korean knitters and with makers around the world who are discovering their yarns online. And by the way, I am also wearing a garment today that I knitted with Nakyang Yarn yarns. The base that I used is called a cashmere and it is a beautiful blend of merino, alpaca and cashmere. The yarn was very kindly gifted to me by the company, so thank you very much. The pattern that I used is the sweater number 12 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And in case you're interested in the exact colorways that I used here, I'm going to link them for you in the description box in case you would like to check them out, or any other yarns from Nakyang Yarn. They offer a wide array of different yarn bases, everything from protein fiber yarns like wool or merino yarns, up to plant-based fiber yarns like linen and cotton, and every blend in between that you can imagine. They have a very beautiful range of colors as well, and I can highly recommend that you check them out. Like I said, I'm going to link them for you in the description box below. Now that we've seen the rich roots of Korean knitting culture, let's dive into the work of 6 talented contemporary Korean knitwear designers. Each of them has their own unique style, from minimalist chic to storytelling whimsy, and I cannot wait to show you the designs that I have picked out for this video. As I was researching this episode, what struck me the most was the contrast and harmony between tradition and modern life. All of the designs that I am about to show you feel young, modern, and playful, but at the same time they are also rooted in tradition and feel somehow grounded. As always for my videos for the Knitting Around the World series, I do have to put out a little disclaimer up front. I do not speak Korean, and I am going to try to pronounce everything correctly, at least to the best of my abilities, but please excuse my very bad Korean, but just know that I'm trying my very best here. The first designer that I would like to introduce you to is Hyunji Jin, also known as BosongKnit, and her designs caught my eye because they blend charm with attention to detail really well. And the first pattern that I have picked out to show you is called the Floral Breeze cardigan, and this one came out in April of 2025. It is knitted with 4 strands of yarn held together, and that comes out to an Aran weight gauge of 16 stitches and 22 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes that she used are a US 9 and a US 10, which correspond to 5.5 and 6 millimeter needles. This pattern comes in 3 different sizes, with finished bust measurements ranging from 38.5 up to 48 inches or 98 up to 122 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease. The cardigan is knitted from the bottom up. It features raglan shaping as well as intarsia for those beautiful flower motifs you can see on the sleeves. It contains both written and charted instructions, as well as links to helpful videos for the different techniques that I used. Now, isn't that just a stunning design? I think it looks so elegant and romantic and feminine, and I would absolutely love to knit this cardigan in the future. There is a second design by BosongKnit that I would like to show you, and this one is called the Christmas Ribbon Sweater. Now this one has a bit of a festive touch with this ribbon, but I think it would completely work all year round as well. This design came out in February of 2024, and it is knitted with a lace weight yarn with a gauge of 21 stitches and 27 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 4 and a US 7, which correspond to 3.5 and 4.5 millimeter needles. You will also need a crochet hook with a 3.5 millimeter size that corresponds to an E hook, and this one is used to do the edging. This cardigan comes in 4 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 38 up to 47.75 inches or 97 up to 121 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease here either. This is a boat neck style sweater that is worked top down with raglan increases, and it also contains short rows. This one looks like a wearable holiday gift to me. I really like the playfulness of the bow in the back, and that the front in contrast looks rather simple and minimalistic. That's also a design that I would love to knit in the future. And that also brings us to the special announcement of this video. Together with BosongKnit, I am hosting a little giveaway to celebrate this episode all about Korean knitting. And BosongKnit very kindly offered to gift one of her beautiful patterns to one of you. So if you would like to knit one of her patterns and win a copy, all you have to do is leave a comment down below letting me know which of her beautiful patterns you would like to knit. I am going to draw the winner 1 week from now, and I'm going to announce it in a community post here on YouTube. So if you would like to knit one of her patterns, please leave a comment, and thank you very much to BosongKnit for kindly agreeing to be part of this amazing giveaway. Let's move on to the next designer now, and I would like to talk about Romance Knit. And the design that I picked out to show you is called the Charlotte skirt. Now just look at this stunning design. I think it is so elegant and beautiful and special while also being wearable at the same time. This is knitted with a silk mohair yarn, and you need to hold 2 strands together. She used the tin silk mohair from Sedna Yang, and this comes out to a fingering weight gauge of 29 stitches and 32 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle size used is a US 4, which corresponds to 3.5 millimeters. The design comes in 7 different sizes, and the finished measurements, they are measured at the circumference of the waistband, range from 25.25 up to 45.75 inches or 64 up to 116 centimeters. The skirt is worked from the top down, and you start at the waistband. And it is a flare skirt that features this beautiful delicate silhouette and has a gorgeous drape at the same time. Let's move on to the next designer, and I would like to show you this beautiful cardigan by Deulkkot. The design is called Deulkkot Cardigan, I hope, and it came out in April of 2022. It is knitted with the BC Garn Bio Shetland Gots and the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair held together, and this comes out to an Aran weight gauge of 18 stitches and 26 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 7 and a US 8 that correspond to 4.5 and 5 millimeter needles. It comes in 7 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 39 up to 63 inches or 100 up to 160 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease. This is a drop shoulder design that is worked from the top down. It has a simple and basic fit and those beautiful lace panels on both sides of the cardigan. The design is inspired by Deulkkot butterflies and blooming flower buds that feel like spring. Deulkkot means wildflowers in Korean. And there is one more design by Deulkkot that I also wanted to show you, and this one is called My Dear Sweater. It came out in October of 2024, and she knitted the original sample for her husband, and that's also why it's called My Dear Sweater. The yarn that she used is Yang yarn, and the base is Halim Handweaver's yarn, which is a 100% merino yarn in a worsted weight with a gauge of 19 stitches and 28 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 6 and a US 7, which correspond to 4 and 4.5 millimeters. It comes in 6 different sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 38 up to 60 inches or 97 up to 152 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is also no information about the recommended ease here as well. Since she designed the sweater originally for her husband, it is a unisex design that's worked from the top down and features different cable motifs and some raglan shaping. Deulkkot states on the Ravelry page that she used a heavier weight yarn for the sample that she made for her husband, and this resulted in a heavy boxy sweater, but she recommends to use a lighter weight yarn if you would like to knit the sweater to fit a woman, because then it also becomes more drapey. Moving on to the next designer, I would like to introduce you to Sedna Yang. And the first sweater of hers that I would like to show you is called the Redberry Sweater. This design came out in November of 2024. It is knitted with a DK weight yarn and a gauge of 20 stitches and 26 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle size used is a US 6, which corresponds to 4 millimeters. The design comes in 9 different sizes. The finished bust measurements range from 25.25 up to 61.5 inches. That corresponds to 64 up to 156 centimeters. The recommended ease is 2 to 4 inches or 5 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. This is a top-down circular yoke sweater that features this lovely stitch pattern around the neckline and the yoke. And the designer states that her inspiration were Christmas trees and the cute little red berries with evergreen leaves. The sweater is knitted in the round from the top down. And there is one more design from Sedna Yang that I just have to show you because it is way too beautiful not to. So this shawl is called the Baram Shawl. And Baram in Korean has 2 meanings. It can mean both wind and wish. And isn't this shawl and the photography as well not just breathtakingly beautiful? It came out in November of 2023 and is knitted with the Baby Yak medium, which is a worsted weight yarn that is made out of 100% yak fiber. The gauge comes out to 20 stitches and 27 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle size that she used is a US 6, which corresponds to 4 millimeters. The shawl comes in 1 size with finished measurements for the depth of 25 inches that corresponds to 64 centimeters and a width of 102 inches that corresponds to 260 centimeters. This is a triangular shaped shawl that's worked from the bottom up in the round with increases at the center and the sides. And after binding off, the shawl is steeked along the top edge. So steeking basically means that you cut your knitting open in the end, which I think sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. And I think it's extremely smart of her to design the shawl that way because it is much easier to knit color work in the round than knitting it flat, because if you knit it flat, you will have to purl in the color work as well, which is usually a lot more difficult for most people. And yeah, I think that's just a very clever construction. And I also wanted to read the designer's inspiration for you that she put on the Ravelry page. She says, "A myriad of beautiful traditional patterns and motifs can still be found everywhere in Korea, from traditional architecture to daily goods. They have been used not only for decoration, but also for the ways to symbolize nature, philosophy, or wishes. Baram Shawl captures the aesthetic of Korean traditional patterns, full of wishes for your health and good luck." The next designer that I would like to talk about is Menmi Choi, also known as Soup Knits, and I have selected 2 of her designs to show you. The first one is called the Pawfume Sweater, and this came out in March of 2023. I think that's a very clever name because the lace motifs on the sweater indeed resemble little paws. But I think even if you do not like cats and dogs, this is still a beautiful design for you to consider. It is knitted with a merino and a silk mohair yarn held together, and that comes out to a DK weight gauge of 20 stitches and 28 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are a US 4 and a US 6, which corresponds to 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles. It comes in 9 different sizes. Finished bust measurements range from 37.5 up to 69 inches or 95 up to 175 centimeters. Unfortunately, there is no information about the recommended ease in the pattern. The sweater is worked from the top down, starting with the neckband and then working in the round first. Then the neckline and shoulders are shaped with short rows, and when the shoulder drop is created, the back and front are worked separately to the underarms where everything is joined and then worked in the round. The sleeve stitches are picked up along the armhole edge and worked in the round all the way to the cuff. And Minmi Joy states on the Ravelry page that this design was inspired by her beloved dog named Bongu. Let's move on to the second design of hers that I would like to show you, and it is called the Tulip Scarf. Now, personally, I have not knitted one of those mini scarves or scarlets yet, but I have been seeing them all over Instagram and in different knitting podcasts lately, and that's why I wanted to include this beautiful version in this video as well. It came out in February of 2023 and is knitted with a DK weight yarn with a gauge of 22 stitches and 32 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needle sizes used are US 4, 6 and 7, which corresponds to 3.5, 4 and 4.5 millimeters. It comes in 3 different sizes with finished measurements ranging from 3 to 6.25 inches or 8 to 16 centimeters for the width, and 35.5 up to 78.75 inches or 90 up to 200 centimeters for the length. The scarf is knitted from tip to tip in this beautiful tulip pattern, while the outer stitches on each side are knitted in a cable stitch. And there are both written and charted instructions in the pattern. Let's have a look at the next design now, and it is called the Bapuri Cardigan by Berry Knitting. And this design came out in November of 2023. It is knitted with a DK weight yarn with a gauge of 23 stitches and 25 rows over 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The needles used are US 4, 5 and 6. That corresponds to 3.5, 3.75 and 4 millimeters. It comes only in 2 different sizes, unfortunately, only in a size small and a size large, with finished bust measurements ranging from 39.5 inches up to 45.75 inches or 100 up to 116 centimeters. So unfortunately, a very limited size range. There's also no information about the recommended ease in the pattern. It is worked from the top down with a V-neck featuring both texture and cables. The cardigan has a raglan shaping, and in the end it is completed with this vertical placket and the beautiful bow. The front placket and the bow are both worked separately without buttonholes and then attached using a tapestry needle later on. And the pattern comes with both written and charted instructions. Now, I think across those different designers you will have noticed a common thread: an eye for soft color palettes, elegant silhouettes, nature-inspired themes, and a touch of romance. Korean knitwear feels thoughtful, wearable, but with a meaning. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out the other videos in the Knitting Around the World series. For example, I have already talked about Japan, Finland, or Scotland in previous episodes. And if you are looking for links to the patterns that I just mentioned, you can find everything in the description box below. Happy knitting and see you next time. Bye guys!